Good evening, everybody. Vic Wratten here. I think we are live and ready. Screens are back now, but I hope everybody's having a good evening so far. Probably having dinner for some of you, but not so for me and Philippa Allen. I know I've been super excited for a long time to get Philippa on this interview session. She did put her hands up very bravely some months ago. And obviously we went off to then rebrand EPAA, change the logo, the website and everything about the association. And so we did stop doing the interviews for a while and now we're back, which is fantastic because I've missed doing them. But I really, really wanted you, Pip, on these on this series at some point. So I'm thrilled to have you here this evening. Please do drop us a comment and say hi if you're patching into one of our social media channels. I'll be keeping an eye on those throughout the interview. Hi, Laura. I hope all is well up in Newcastle. Somebody else has said hello, ladies. I'm not sure who that is, though, but hello. Isn't it dark? It's all wintry now. I was just saying to Pip a couple of minutes ago, it was sunny down in the south today, but it was actually really quite cold. But I don't mind winter. It's the kind of dark early evenings that do it for me. Somebody else has said hello, and I don't know who that is, but hello. But thrilled to have you watching with us this evening. So, Pip, you know what these interviews are about. And just for those of you that are patching in for the first time, it's our series where we interview EPAA members on all things professional in their career. We kind of start with their career as it is at the moment and go right back to the beginning, their entire career journey, sharing best practice and tips and we'll take some questions for you along the way or any comments. So hello, Esther, I hope you're well. Tracy's saying hello from York. Hi, Callie, hope all's good with you and your family. Nice to see you here this evening. Another hello, ladies, but we're not sure who that is. Oh, I like this game. It's like, guess hello from Deborah. Hi, Deborah. Oh, Sheila's here from Canada. Oh, but she has to sign off in a minute as she's presenting in a bit virtually. But she wanted to say hi to everyone, and she's going to catch up with the full interview later, Pippa. And Sharon's on. Hi, Sharon. Sharon's based up in Leicester. Your grandbabies love Fortnite. Oh, well, just as well, we're going to be talking about your current role in a moment. And another hello from a Facebook user. So fantastic. Thank you for patching in this evening with us. So we're going to have a great next hour. So, Pippa, Philippa Allen's the full name. But we will start with your current job because you're at a company called Epic Games. How long have you been there? What is your role? What does the company do?
Okay, so I worked for Cubic Motion, and back in March, 10 days before lockdown, we were acquired by Epic Games, who, as everyone knows, owns Fortnite and House Party and a few other things. So
I didn't realise House Party. Wow, that got really popular in lockdown, didn't it? And I haven't been part of a House Party, but I didn't realise they own that.
Yeah, they own quite a few companies at the moment. They seem to be going through a buying phase. So we work Cubic Motion's an animation company. It was set up by 7 people who decided they wanted to take facial animation that one step closer to being more realistic. So for Epic, we fit in as their animation, and we work closely with another company called 3 Lateral based in Serbia. And we're known for making humans. So the first human they did with one of our clients was Tencent, which was Siren, which was a fully functioning sort of virtual human girl. And it even included the details like the skirt moving as she walked and talked, and the hair detail, making every single strand, the creases in her eyes. So I joined as their executive assistant back in August 2018. So I've been with them for 2 years. And then in March, Epic Games purchased us, and my job changed. And to what it's changed to is not exactly clear yet. So I'm still doing what I did before, with a little bit extra. So I now liaise with the global admin teams right across the world, from Korea to the United States, to Australia, to Singapore. It's quite interesting when you're trying to make a meeting with people and they're right across all the different time zones. Korea one is a bit tricky when you're trying to involve the US.
Something I can relate to from my career, having worked for an international company that was literally all over the world. But Epic Games, I mean, they've been really, really busy. So it's easy to assume that a lot of companies kind of fell down a hole, went into a recession. But Epic Games has actually been really, really busy during this period. You haven't stopped, have you? I mean, even as an assistant.
No, so what we found is a lot of the animation studios are struggling to start up again, or even have the software and technology for our animators to work from home, because they deal with, their machines are not little PCs, they are massive, humongous, I don't know the technical terms, but they've got massive graphic cards for obvious reasons for animation. We need massive download internet connections to download the animation. So we actually are busy because people are coming to us when their normal studios can't deal with the business. So it's been really good. It's been positive because we've been busy. And we just keep growing.
And also, I mean, you are a mum of one to a lovely daughter, and you had, I know we spoke at times during the first lockdown. Here we are, lockdown part 2.
Yeah.
How has it been for you? Because obviously I'm child free. That's the lingo, not childless, child free. So I didn't have all that. Whilst I've had my own challenges during lockdown, I didn't have that. I don't know how you people have done it. Juggled that homeschooling, having was the husband at home during the entire time as well, working?
Yeah. So he works for DWP, so yeah, his job hasn't stopped. No.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But he's still working. He supports the Universal Credit Team. So
wow.
He works from home, so he's not stopped. So it's predominantly mainly me doing school teaching and home working and everything else.
But how did you juggle that when you're still, because you weren't on furlough, you were still working and you're still having to do that through the day? I mean, you can be honest with all of us. Was it screaming, or was it, I've got to do a bit here, do a bit there, and kind of, it was really that juggling balls the whole time?
It definitely juggling, because you never know what the homework is. So thankfully they have an app that you can see what's coming, but on the downside for Grace, there was a glitch in the system. So we thought she was doing really well, but then one day we downloaded it and there were 44 outstanding schoolwork that she had to do. And yeah, so it was dealing with what has happened, why has this happened to her. School were then sending letters, thinking that she wasn't interacting with the site and not doing her homework when she was. So it was literally calendar, work, what meetings did I have, sitting with Grace and saying, when do you need mummy time? And she's like, I need it here, here, and here. So I was like, right, I can do it here and I can do it there. And literally putting in my calendar, like school time and then work time. And to be fair, Epic have been really good. There's like little icons on the Slack channel where you can put school run or school homework or family time. And the rule of thumb is if you see someone with that icon next to the name, you can message them, but don't expect them to reply.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, to have that kind of facility and to be able to get that space, even if you just need half an hour with your daughter to do that. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, have you how have you kind of found lockdown more generally from a personal perspective? Because actually at the moment you're still working, your husband is, but currently as a family you're in self-isolation right now.
I would say self-isolation is a lot harder. You don't have the ability to just walk out the door and have 10 minutes, walk down to the letterbox and post a letter and then come back. You're literally stuck within the confines of your house 24/7 and it has been challenging. To be fair, I've been quite busy this week. I've had lots of things to do in the evening, so the hours have flown by. So I haven't realised tomorrow is Friday, and then Wednesday, hopefully, I should be allowed out. So that should be good.
Oh, brilliant. What are you doing at the moment? Opening the window and having your head out?
Yeah, something like that. Or my car's never looked cleaner. It got a wash the other day. I decided that I needed some fresh air and I cleaned my car in the rain. I didn't care. I just needed to be outside doing something, obviously in the confines of my house.
Yeah. I absolutely don't blame you for that. I really, really don't. Well, best of luck for the rest of your self-isolation. And thank God you've got Tesco's booked for an online delivery. That was some savvy forward thinking. We got in there quick because there's literally no slots left now with many of the supermarkets right up until Christmas, I think I heard on the news the other day.
Wow. I do miss my shopping. I prefer going to the shops. It's sorry, but
me too. I'm literally, now we're back in lockdown, I'm literally clambering to get back to the high street. As soon as everything's opened again, I'm just going to run up there. And I think that lockdowns, both the lockdowns, everything that's happened this year has taught me that actually, the virtual stuff is really, really great. It's given us the capacity to do this tonight. But actually, I do like being around people, and I do want to go out of my house, and I do want to go to the pub and, go and have a meal and all that good stuff. So I think a lot of us have probably felt the same, to be fair. So, and I haven't been in self-isolation. I still can go out for a couple of walks every day. So hats off to you. So let's go back to 16-year-old Pip. You're coming out of school. You've done your exams. What happened next?
So I stayed in school because my dad didn't have further education, didn't have any sixth form. I think he got pulled out about 13, 14 for apprenticeship. So he didn't have the opportunities. So he was very much of the opinion for me and my sisters that you have every opportunity available and you at least try it. Even if you don't like it, know that you've tried it. So I passed my GCSEs and then I stayed at sixth form and did my A-levels. And then university, as I was doing my A-levels, you had those meetings with the teachers and they assessed, how well they thought you were going to be doing. And they considered that maybe potentially possibly teaching or maybe something less academic, just implying that I wasn't that great. I applied to go to Nottingham Trent. I didn't get my grades. I was a bit disappointed, but I went through the clearing system and got a place at the University of Central Lancashire. And with my parents' advice, I decided to do hospitality management because it was a bit of practicality with a bit of sort of learning like business studies and things like that. So
I'm just interrupting you slightly, but that, reminded me, but that's what a lot of parents were like back then. It was the kind of fail safes, as we call it, go and do business studies, business admin, hospitality. So I totally get that and understand that, because that was the thinking of the time. If you didn't quite get the grades to go and do perhaps what you might have wanted to have done at university.
So I wasn't sure I wanted to go either. And my dad just said, look, can you give it a go, give it a term. And if by December you hate it, you just come home. It's fine, just come home. Because at the time we didn't have that much money. I had a grant that existed. So I got a very small grant to fund my books and things. My parents paid my accommodation and then I had to get student loans out. to support myself. I did my degree. I then also got diagnosed at university as having a learning disability, which I didn't know. It was only when one of my lecturers said, I don't understand why, Pip, you're really good in your seminars, but your writing or your content is shockingly bad. It's not what you've said in your seminar. I don't understand. So she referred me for testing. And that's when I found out I'd had a learning disability. It's similar to dyslexia, just slightly different. And my parents felt like they should have done something, but back in those days, dyslexia wasn't well known. It was just something that wasn't talked about as much as it is now. You know, more people are aware of it. So
I think it was positive though that the teacher lecturer had the foresight back, given those times as it was back then, to actually put you forward for some testing before you'd come kind of fully out of university education, then come into the workforce and then figured it out. Or somehow, you know, ended up getting that assessment and finding that out. But how did you feel, you know, finding out you had a learning disability when you were at uni?
Relief that all the times that I've been told I was stupid, and why do I have to explain that a fourth time, Philippa? The rest of the class get it. Why do you not get it? And why have you written it like this? It's not grammatically correct. My parents were very supportive. Throughout secondary school, they'd got me tutors, they'd got me everything I needed to get my GCSEs and my A levels, because something wasn't right, but they didn't know, I didn't know, yeah. Teachers weren't as clued up. So when I actually got the paperwork back from the psychologist, and he was basically going through it all and said, oh, you have a reading age of a 16-year-old. And he actually said at the end of the session, what grade do you see you getting at university? And I said, a first. And there was a look of horror on his face. And he's like, but you won't get a first. I said, I know I won't get a first, but if I don't aim for a first, how do I know that I can't be the best? You know, I need to be the best that I can be. So I said, I realistically know I won't get a first, but I have to aim for it. So yeah. I walked away with a 2-2, and I'm super proud of my 2-2. And
I would be as well. I mean, I couldn't even, university was taken off the board for me before we'd even really got going. So hats off to you for achieving that, finding out mid-degree you've got a learning disability and then just still kind of ploughing on with it. I think that's really, really inspiring.
So I think it helped as well that I had a really nice group of friends. And the university were really good. They gave me the additional support. I had a dissertation tutor, so actually writing my dissertation, they didn't write it for me. I'd just like to point that out. It was all my own hard work, 10,000 words. But what they did do is they sort of helped me structure it and sort of talk through how it was reading to them, and that academically it needed to tweak a bit. So I would go away and work on sections. So they basically broke up my dissertation into smaller, manageable pieces. So proud of my dissertation. It's in the University of Central Lancashire Library.
Is it? Oh wow, that's incredible.
All the students' dissertations get put in their library as research tools.
Oh, I didn't. Is that a common thing on universities, or you just know that it's happened there?
Just know that you can. I don't know whether it's physically in the library, but it's on the library system that you can request a copy of the dissertations for research purposes when you're doing your dissertation, to sort of gather evidence and things like that.
So whilst you were at university, did you have to undertake any jobs to keep going, keep some money coming in, food and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so second year nightclub.
Now that's a common job though for people at uni, is it? Because it's after you've done all your studying. It's the nightlife, isn't it? Essentially, it's bar work and
stuff. I couldn't drink. I couldn't. I realised at a very early point at university that I could not hold my alcohol. I did a very good rendition of Mariah Carey apparently when I was in one of my drunken states.
Such a shame we didn't have the mobile phones back then to record all that.
Oh, no, we had the Nokia. You had the Nokia brick, you know, the big Nokia.
Oh, yeah.
But no cameras.
Yeah, not the video technology we've got now, where you literally can get away with nothing. Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
So then I decided that since I couldn't drink, and I needed a job, I might as well go and work in a nightclub. And that way I could still socialise with my friends, but obviously not have the hangover from hell the following day.
Yeah. I'm actually, this is my cheat night tonight for anybody that's watching. I'm on a healthy eating fitness plan, so I've actually got a little glass of wine here, but I'm kind of feeling I should have brought up some water now.
It's all right, I've got the water for you.
Oh, brilliant. At least someone's been good tonight, Pip. So did the nightclub job end when university ended and you kind of went back to Manchester area?
It did. So the nightclub job lasted for a year because, to be fair, hospitality courses, for those that don't know, it's quite a full-on course. It's 35 hours every year with a year out in your third year. So working till 3-4 in the morning and then having a 9 o'clock lecture, not a good combination. So when I did my year out, I went to work in a bowling alley, learning all the managerial ropes, which was really interesting. And then in my fourth year, I got a much more sensible job and went to work for Boots as an operations assistant. Much more interesting, you know, sensible hours.
Yeah.
Massive discounts, 22.5% off Boots products and 12.5% off their non-Boots. So yes, very popular at university.
Blimey, I bet they don't do those discounts now. Not as good.
But it was very good.
You know what? I did Tesco night shift years and years and years ago at the start of my secretarial career. When I was young, I actually did the secretarial job, then went on to Tesco's, and the discounts were insane back then. I mean, they were absolutely brilliant. But speaking to people now who work at Tesco's, they're like half of what they used to be.
I used to get double time on a Sunday because it wasn't my contracted day. So coming up to Christmas, I used to rake it in on a Sunday because they used to pull me in to come and do it because I couldn't go home.
Yeah.
So they used to just pull me in. So I used to do like 6 hours and get double time. It was great.
Why not? And you were probably one of a minority not hungover on that Sunday. And
it was good. I loved working on. I had babies, so I was basically I stocked the shelves.
Yeah.
Shelf stacker basically, and I had babies, and we were near the Royal Preston, and the amount of new dads that would walk in with a list that their wives had given because they suddenly had the baby arrived unexpectedly, and they'd just be like, "What the hell is the breast pack? What are they?" So I helped one of the dads once, and then word got around: if you go and find this girl in the green top with her long hair, give her the list. She'll fill the basket up for you with all the right things, and you'll get brownie points when you go back to the hospital.
You see, you were gaining a good reputation even back then. Roots with the local dads. Brilliant, love it. So, what happens post Boots? Where did you go on to then?
So, I went back to work for First Leisure, who I worked for in my year out because I'd apparently made a really good impression. So, I bypassed very naughtily. These sort of graduate recruitment that you have to do to get through into the company. No, the area manager said, no, you just come back to work for us. That'll be fine. So I did a year at Derby Mega. They now call themselves Derby Mega Bowl. So I ran a bowling alley with 2 other managers. And I did that for a year. And then I decided I wanted to branch out a bit. And I wanted to leave home. I kind of been in the Northwest for a while and then I'd gone back to the Midlands. And I thought, well, I wonder if I go back to the North and I was getting a bit fed up with the job as well. They kept promising to move me on and they didn't. And so I applied for a job working for Warner Village Cinemas and I went for the job interview and I was sat there and the area manager doing the interview goes, I know you. And I went, do you? He goes, yes. You worked on the VIP bar at Tokyo Joe's in Preston. and you always served me with a smile, and you always served me the correct drinks. Yes, I do remember you. And then next thing I know, he says, right, I'll offer you Bury or Peterborough. Which one would you like? So then I got a job again, bypassing some of the graduate recruitment, because they'd seen me work in the nightclub, and I'd always delivered consistently good service, even under some very strange situations. In fact, one of them, he witnessed 2 women fighting at the bar, and I had to separate them. So, you can certainly handle yourself with any difficult customers. So yeah, I got the job and then relocated to Greater Manchester.
Wow. And so how long were you there for?
So I was there for just under 11 months, because unfortunately behind the scenes, Warner Brothers were sort of pulling out of the partnership with Village. So they were making redundancies, and I decided, because some of the other ladies had been there for years and it was all they knew, I decided that I'd rather just leave. I'd take the redundancy, and I know that's not how they do it, but they do look at people that are offering to leave. So I decided to take a gamble and leave. And I just met my husband at the time, just started seeing him. So I thought, actually, Bury's got a lot to offer. So, and my father, my dad's taught me, you can do anything you want. If you need a job, you just go and do it. I mean, I've worked in the plast plugs, the plast plugs that you put in the raw plugs you put in the walls.
Yeah.
I've worked in a factory chopping them up into bags. So I've done anything. So I decided to stick around and got a temping job working for Swinton, the insurance broker. So that's what I did next, and I started off as an legal assistant for them.
You were going to say an illegal then.
A legal assistant. No, a legal assistant for them. And apparently I found out the reason I got the job, because it was temp to perm, they were really curious as to why a hospitality student cum manager had applied for a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday role. So, and I just said, because why not? And because I need a job, and I can show you that you can transfer your skills from one industry to another. So then I stayed for 16 years, moving up the ranks.
So you were a legal assistant. What when you say moving up the ranks, what sort of jobs did you go on to do?
So when I started at Swinton, it was before the proper FCA came into play. Yeah. So it was like the General Insurance Standards Council. So for a lot of brokers at the time, they had very small legal teams. Compliance really wasn't, and it wasn't talked about. You just sent out an ad. If it was treating customers fairly, good, yeah, that was good. If it wasn't, don't worry about it. We'll deal with it later. So my boss then moved into legal and compliance. So she had to create a compliance team, and then we had to apply for FCA regulation.
Yeah.
So as she progressed up the ranks, she took me with her. And then there was a bit of a reshuffle when our parent company, Conveyor, decided to reshuffle the management team. So she left, and then they brought in a chief risk officer. They did everything different. So again, I was then working for an executive member of the board, and I'd already been looking after the boards all through my 16 years, because no one really likes sitting in a risk committee, an audit committee meeting, taking minutes.
Yeah, I've often said that when it comes to anything risk or compliance, there's probably a minority of our population that actually really, really enjoy it, if they're being honest.
Really interesting.
I know. I mean, I worked for a captive finance firm and had to go in a minute and be part of the meetings, and there was a lot around compliance and risk because we'd had the global financial recession. And actually I was like, wow, this is fascinating. Really, really fascinating, but it was something that had to happen, and back to FCA regulations and stuff. But I found it interesting. But I've spoken to a lot of EAs, and they're like,
I think I learned in the board meetings what makes a good non-exec director, what makes a bad non-exec director, what makes a good chair, how to challenge. We did negotiating and influencing yesterday.
Yeah.
When they're challenging something, it's how do they do it? And I did learn a lot, and being more interactive with the chair, it's really important, because when you're minuting and you don't know something, you need to prompt him if he's not checked something. It was, although the subject matter wasn't always great, the actual interaction where people, the healthy challenging and stuff, this is how a board meeting should be. People shouldn't just sit in a board meeting and say nothing if they don't agree. So, although the content not always great, the actual stuff going on within the closed doors very interesting.
And actually, 16 years service, and we've got a couple of more than a few people in our membership that have been at companies for a long time, and it's might not be something that we see as much in the future, but 16 years is an extraordinary length of service. What kept you there for so long? Was it that you kept progressing up the ranks and moving role, and your boss taking you along for the journey?
It was a bit of everything. I just met my husband to be. I joined in 2001. I got married. I also got diagnosed with a disease called endometriosis, so I'd had to have time off to have operation and get a diagnosis, and had to do treatments. And then I obviously then got married and then had Grace. And because they knew how I worked, some of it was a bit because they knew how I worked, and I could work flexible hours, because at the time, a lot of the office work was 9 to 5. There was no talk about working from home. It was not a viable option. So I learned to negotiate what hours I could do to cater around Grace.
We're back. Just waiting for you to come back, Pippa.
Oh, sorry. Am I back?
I'm back.
Hello.
I think I lost you for a bit, Pippa. I think we lost some connection.
Okay. So I was just saying that it was more flexibility, I think, at the time in the office, that I stayed for 16 years.
With us. Pippa never left.
It's that Virgin Media internet connection.
Okay. I think we're back now.
Yay.
We're back. I'm not sure what happened there. Internet connection drops, it would seem. Virgin Media again. Okay. Yeah, I know. So you were talking about flexible working.
Yeah, so I kind of stayed in the job longer than I think I should have done. There were other internal issues going behind the scenes with other EAs. Can't really say too much, because it's not really a professional thing to do, really. Happy to talk to someone on a one-to-one basis about my experiences, but it did get to the point where I thought I have to be brave and I have to leave.
Yeah.
So I took the plunge. The scariest thing I have done in a long time. Giving birth, piece of cake. Could do that. No, couldn't do that again. But the job jumping was really scary, losing that sense of security and things. So I went to work for a charity. I went to work for the CEO, although it didn't work out quite how I planned. So I kind of decided 10 months afterwards that yes, you meant to stay in a job for longer to make it look better on your CV, but there wasn't any work. It wasn't the charity's fault. It was just a situation that had happened. I'd met some lovely people and they're still my friends today. So that was a positive. And then I applied to work for Cubic Motion.
And actually, I mean, you've touched upon a point about, you're not meant to move on. I think, I mean, certainly recruiters and employers have to expect a lot more of that nowadays, and, that people do move on. And I think we all forget that probation period is probation period for a reason. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, and it could be a natural parting of the ways. It's not all just about the employer. But even if you're 10 months in, if it's not right, it's not right. And the longer you kind of stay there, the worse it will get for both parties. And like I said, the generations nowadays, they're not going to hang around. If they're not happy, they will just leave. So I think it's something that everybody's got to get used to, more of that on CVs and resumes. And you have ended up with the right company now, Cubic, Epic. It's definitely, we're calling it Epic Games now. It's
we're still getting in the habit of. It's really bizarre because our email addresses have remained the same.
Yeah.
So when I'm calling companies and go, oh, I'm calling on behalf of Epic Games Animation, they then go, well, your email address says Cubic, and I'm like, yes, we still keep the email address. So it's a bit confusing, but although I still don't know quite what my job role is at the moment, there's still some internal workings going on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
I can't fault the care that Epic have provided me and the support, and I have been frustrated, I won't lie, but I think over the last few weeks I've realised that actually I'm just going to open my mind to lots of opportunities. So I've signed up to help them with some internal web pages for new starters. So when they start from around the world, they're going to go to like an intranet sort of thing, and they'll find all the resources. So just thought, there's opportunities out there. So I might as well just jump in and find out. I've even written COVID office procedures for Motion Capture Studio and our return to office, which I never thought I'd do. I didn't think I had the skill, the knowledge or the skill, but actually if you do some research and write it, it's all been signed off by head office in the States. They're happy with it. So
that's brilliant. And there'll be a few members now sending you private messages saying, can I see that you've written the policies?
Yeah, we've even had to find, and this has been the hardest bit, a private company that will provide testing, because a bit like Strictly, we've got actors, we've got a minimum, we've got skinny staff on, but we have to make sure that our staff are tested to keep them safe, to keep the actors safe. Yeah. So actually trying to filter out the cowboys from the genuine companies has been a challenge, but with a bit of help from my boss, we found a local company within the University of Manchester. So it's nice that we're supporting, university, and so that's been interesting. I've learned lots recently about PCR testing.
Good on you. And obviously you are a member of EPAA. You joined a few years ago. In fact, you were waving an old flyer around just before the interview of our old brand. It's still, we'll always look back fondly on that, of course. But what other kind of networking or stuff have you got involved in terms of the industry in the last few years?
So I found EPAA through some coaching. So when I was at Swinton, I was having a bit of a wobble and thinking, do I go back to hospitality industry? Don't I? What is it I want? So I did go and have a careers coach, and she actually, part of my homework was actually finding out about EPAA, what professional bodies were there for PAs and PAs. So when I joined, it was like, oh, this is so nervous. Oh, I think the first event I came to was at the Manchester Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
Like a bag of nerves. And I remember Josh was sat there. There was Debbie, and Debbie Grimshaw.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally walked through the front door and you were there and you were just like, welcome, have a, sit down. And it's like, oh, this isn't too scary. This is okay. This is really nice. I'm sure I sat next to her. I can't remember her name, a lady from Chester Zoo. And I remember Aisha as well, because, I was just curious as to why Aisha had come up from London. And she just said, well, it's so I can meet people and, meet people from different areas and cities and think, oh, that's quite a good idea. So I kind of stole Aisha's idea and decided that I'd also attend events in London. So EPAA gave me the confidence to sort of join other networking. So I joined the Manchester EPAA network. And again, it was really nervous, but they had people, they buddied you up. I think when you walked the door, they had someone to buddy up with, and I was made to feel completely at ease. And I also, through that, I attended some ones held by Adelshaw Goddard networking and PwC networking. And it's really nervous. I hate it when I first go through the door. I feel like an oddball. I feel like I don't know, I've got a horn sticking out my head or something. But as soon as you say that first word, hello, what's your name? Where are you working? It's all then, oh, that's okay. It's all so easy.
And it's funny because you've never, ever since I've known you, you've never, ever come across as nervous or somebody that, was petrified of walking into a room. You've just kind of owned it and handled it at every single EPAA event. But I do remember that one in Manchester. And I remember that Josh actually won the big prize, didn't he? The weekend trip back to Manchester. I remember we did have a really, really great day on that day. So I'm glad that was one of your first events actually with us. And now.
Was it Anel was there as well, or was that another day? I know I've seen Anel in Manchester as well, and she was.
So that day that you came to, it was me and Adam and Peggy Grande, who was the former EA to President Ronald Reagan. And then the second one with Anel was me, Adam, Anel, and Sheila. And when we came up for the fellow training day. Yeah, and back at the Holiday Inn again, actually. So it was easy to get confused with those events because it was at the same place.
But no, it is scary. I literally shake as a lift, if I'm walking through the door of the lift. I'm literally coaching myself in my head, smile, stand, everything that I've learned from my hospitality degree, because obviously they teach you how to present yourself to a client, to the customer and things. And it's like you can have a facade and no one can tell that you're quaking in your boots or you're shaking. Just go in and pretend you know what you're talking about.
And I mean, much of that advice has clearly served you well here as well. And, you've been brave and put yourself up for interviews like this, which we said would be informal and relaxed, and it has been. But in terms of kind of finishing off, are there any kind of best practice, any thoughts you've had on the profession, in the past or now that you want to share with people, or are you planning any learning and development for the future? I mean, what's on your mind in terms of being an assistant?
So I'm actually doing something completely different for learning and development. I'm becoming a run leader. My PE teacher probably passed out from secondary school. So before lockdown happened, I was due to sit my run leaders course and then become a run leader. But again, it's had to be adapted. So I've done most of it. I just need to do the video. I need to do 2 videos of me leading a running session, which is way out of my comfort zone, standing in front of the camera and being responsible for 6 other people. So that's been really interesting. I've also done a bit around endometriosis and educating people about the illness and educating employers as well about it, because it is a hard thing to talk to your employees about, I don't talk to my employees when I first start because I'm so scared they're going to look at it and go, she's got endometriosis, so she's going to be off every single month, and she's going to, you know, she's not going to give everything. She's not going to be a committed worker. So majority of the time, I never tell anyone, and I don't think that's a good way of doing things.
No, it's definitely had more profile in recent years, but there's more work to be done. And you know, it's good that people like you are talking up about it. A couple of people have mentioned on the comments, I don't know who it was. I have endometriosis too, was diagnosed in 2009. And somebody else has said something as well, saying they've been diagnosed with it as well. So, you know, it's good that more people are starting to talk up about it. They should, and no employer should be writing people off for having been diagnosed with that. But I don't think a lot of employers still fully understand what it is as a condition, and, you know, how you kind of live with it and how you're able to work.
I think it's the other thing is as well is my learning disability. I don't disclose it. And I don't know whether is it because I'm ashamed? Is it not? I think part of the reason is I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah.
But I don't see it as a disability. I just see it as a bit of a challenge for me on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I have a good dictionary. I reread things. I print things off. I leave them to one side, then go back and read them to make sure I've used the right there, and there's, where's, where. No, it's grammatically correct.
Yeah.
I do think you have to be yourself. I do think when you're in a job that is not fitting, it's no longer working, you're having more down days than good days. You do need to do something sooner rather than later. I definitely left it too late when I was working at Swinton. It took my 9-year-old at the time to say, "Mummy, you're not happy."
Yeah.
It's all right, Mummy. I'll go and sort it out for you. I'll go to Swinton and sort it out. And when your 9-year-old is, you know, sitting there and saying, "It's all right, Mummy, I'll sort it out for you," then you know it's impacting at home, and it can't be a healthy environment. So I do think don't be afraid to say this job isn't working. Don't be afraid to leave. Go with convictions. Don't try and be someone that you're not. Always be yourself. I know it's a bit corny and a bit always, but I think if you go into a job being somebody you're not, they will see you right through it.
Yeah. And you know, you've kind of been brave right the way throughout your career, admitting that, and, you know, and moving on. And okay, you might have been at one firm longer than you probably should have been, but I think a lot of us have been there. But if COVID has taught anybody anything, that life is too short for a lot of people. Stuff like this can happen, like a global pandemic, and actually it's all about grabbing a bit more happiness in life, whether that's from a personal or professional or both kind of perspective there.
The other thing I think you should do as well is, if you've moved to, like I moved to the charity, it wasn't the right thing. It wasn't the right move to do. Don't beat yourself up about it. Take it as a learning curve. Take it as a learning sort of thing. That didn't work, but on the positives, I made great friends. I learned a bit more about the charity sector. I picked up on cues that if I start another job and I see those cues are starting to ring alarm bells in my head, then I know it's time to leave. It's like the same with Swinton. I have no regrets that I stayed longer than I should, because if I hadn't stayed longer than I should, I wouldn't learn all those feelings that I shouldn't have ignored. I should have, next time I start to feel like that, I need to reassess what I need to do about it. Is it me? Is it the job? If there's something I can do, if a particular relationship with a colleague's not working, can I address that? Is it something that can be fixed? If I try and address it and it's not working, then I can just go, well, I tried and it's not that it's failed, it's just not worked out, and move on.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been an amazing interview. I know we've had a couple of tech issues from my end, but it's been amazing interviewing you. You really are truly inspiring. The way you've gone about doing things, the way you've walked into those rooms, even when you didn't feel like it, in terms of networking and meeting more peers, moving your career along, dealing with a learning disability and endometriosis. That's all stuff to really be commended. And I think you've shown a lot of us, certainly me, through the last hour and ever since I've known you, that you've actually got so much resilience, which has probably stood you in good stead dealing with lockdown and now self-isolation as a family. It's just been incredible. So keep us posted about your run leader.
I will. I promise. I might post a video. I think the other thing is,
please do.
I think without EPAA though, I think without you, Vic, and without the courses you run, and like Anel and Sheila and Adam, I think unless you actually do that professional development, you don't find the courage to go and try new things. Like I'm an ambassador for Park Run, a big national, international running social thing. And, I've stood in front of GPs talking about my condition. I think unless you have to be willing to open a door and, even though you're nervous as hell, you still just put that foot through the door, it'll be fine. And if it's not, worst cases, you can run out of break time and no one will know.
Yeah, definitely. You're getting so much applause on the comments.
Everyone. I mean, EPAA, with their support and Deborah's coffee mornings, I mean, they'll all freely attest that I've had, this week, I'm just like, oh, I can't be doing it. I've just, locked down. Yeah. The fact that EPAA coffee chats are in a lovely safe space where you can just vent and just let it all out, and then, go back on your Zoom call with your work colleagues, go, everything's fine.
Yeah, great. I've got the gin on. Oh, not for you. You've got something, some lovely herbal tea hopefully under there, and try not to. I mean, I've purposely stayed away from them. Obviously, been the founder to keep allowing you guys to have your safe space to do whatever you want. And Deborah gave up inviting me some months ago.
Which is probably it's great.
Well, I'll try and get on one by the end of the year, but I wanted you guys to keep doing what you were doing, and I was in the middle of a rebrand and overhauling the association, which took up pretty much every waking hour, along with my able assistant Rossi, who is now he's at my feet. Pip, I told you he'd at some point. He's literally sniffing and snorting at my feet as we speak.
I love Rossi.
Yeah, it's been amazing having a dog during lockdown. I think there's a lot to be said for animals, whether it's cats, dogs. I know a former boss, he is really into his fish tank, and that does it for him, as a bit of a stress relief. Whatever floats your boat is what I say there. But we've got some lovely things coming through. Saying we're a family. Esther agrees with everything you said about Deborah's coffee mornings. I'm going to have to take Deborah out for some champagne when we're in our London. Definitely.
Even with stuff that she's been having going on as well, it's been, those coffee mornings have been brilliant. You can have a really good giggle. I mean, you can come on the call and feel really low, and then somebody says something, and then it just complete giggles, fits of giggles, and it's definitely a really good pick me up. And for those that haven't, attended or feel free to join. It's just brilliant. I just love that.
And I've got something similar in my sphere with other business owners and trainers, and Adam and I have been in constant contact the entire time, as everybody would expect. But so I totally get it from that perspective. And you've had some really great comments here just before we close off here. Okay, Josh, I will come to a coffee morning before the end of the year. I'm assuming Deborah's going to do like an evening Christmas party type thing.
She's been doing one once a month for us. And I just wanted to cheekily wish Esther and Leslie good luck tonight.
Oh, is it tonight for the Sex and City Awards? Oh, fingers crossed.
Good luck, ladies.
Josh is saying we are family. I feel like breaking into a dance there, and we'll save that for the Christmas virtual drinks. Laura said she loves hearing people's stories, and she's found it both interesting and amazing how different we all are. Thank you so much, Pippa. Callie said she's loving hearing people's stories too. English Fizz instead. Has that come from Esther? That
English.
Yeah, well, I'm always up for buying British. Tracy, Christmas coffee morning with Vic. Yeah, we can organise that, definitely. Fabulous interview from Sue. Donna said, oh, thank you for this. It's been great. Really enjoyed it. Oh, brilliant. Lots of lovely comments. I knew that was going to happen, getting you on. So I'm really thrilled about that. And I can't wait to see you again in person next year. Our national conference is coming to Manchester. It's now been moved to June. Which is really, oh, sorry, instead of the champagne with Deborah, we just had another English fizz instead of champagne with Deborah. Well, I'm all about buying British at the moment, supporting British products, small businesses, you know, whatever funds any of us have got this year, we should be ploughing back into our own economy. So I'm definitely up for that. But yeah, I digress. The Manchester conference, we're coming in up to Manchester in June. We've got the most fabulous keynote speaker. It's someone you wouldn't expect, Pip. I think even you'll be shocked because I've pulled that out of the bag. So watch out for that announcement. Josh, yeah, you can't wait to come to the conference because you love Manchester. Yeah. We will do. I just want to escape out of my local area. Well, like, seriously. But I just want to wish everybody well as we continue through lockdown 2.0. Thank Pippa again for being part of this tonight, and wish your family well for the rest of self-isolation and the rest of the year. And we'll keep mingling in our Facebook group as well. But thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and you're such an inspiration. I don't think you realise how much you are. So go and enjoy some time with the family now and watch some Netflix or Prime or whatever it is.
Netflix.
Netflix, yeah, I know it's all about Netflix. But I will just say before we finish off, I don't know about you, Pip, but I'm really excited about I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here this year. I'm excited because it's in the UK, they're in Wales. I think they're going to have even more torture than they would have in Australia, and I'm excited about that. So
cold.
Yeah, it's going to be cold, it's going to be wet, they're going to be out in the elements. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that in terms of normal telly, but it's Netflix all the way at the moment.
Yeah.
Anyway, good night, everyone. Have a great evening, and we'll see you in the Facebook group later. And thank you again, Pippa.
Welcome. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.